Hello, my spooky friends. This is John, your host of Dairyland Frights in the spookier podcast, Nightland Frights. And I wanted to thank all my spooky friends out there for listening. I truly appreciate it. Please like and subscribe and rate us 5 stars. It helps me make this a better podcast. And make sure you comment what guests you would like me to have on, what topics you would like me to talk about. It's only going to make this podcast better. So again, thank you so much for listening. And please go to my Patreon. Check that out. Become a Parascani for only $3, a spooky friend for $1. And remember, stay spooky. Hello, my spooky friends. This is John, your host, and welcome to another episode of Dairyland Frights, the paranormal podcast that covers everything spooky, creepy, and mysterious in the Midwest and beyond. And my spooky friends, you are in for a real treat today. On the podcast, I have David Omen from, yes, the Omen House, that house that you like. That house? One where Sharon Tate was murdered and everything? And he has all this crazy stuff happen? Yes, that house. So, welcome, David.
Well, thanks for having me, John. It's good to be on the show.
I want to start out with a quote that I found, David, that blew me away. A parapsychologist once called your house the Mount Everest of haunted houses. Wow, because that's huge. So can you just give people, I know you probably said this a million times, but kind of give people a little bit of background of yourself and a little background of the house. If people, because I have younger people listening to the podcast who maybe never heard of Sharon Tate and the whole Manson family, which is weird, right? That you've never heard of that. But there are some people that are like, who? So go right ahead if you could. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Well, my name is David Omen. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, not too far from where I live now in the hills of the Santa Monica mountain range. To be honest with you, a little background about the story is that the Sharon Tate murders took place August 8th, 1969, into August 9th. It was a Friday into a Saturday morning. And she was 8.5 months pregnant. She lived at the house that once stood about 200 feet down the street from my house. And she was there with her ex-fiance, Jay Sebring, hairstylist to the stars. Her best friend, Abigail Folger, heiress to the Folgers coffee empire. And Wojtek Frykowski, her fiance, or boyfriend, and also Roman Polanski, Sharon Tate's husband's best friend from Poland. And there was also an 18-year-old high school student who just graduated named Stephen Parent, who was, as I like to call it, the odd man out. Because had he left 5 minutes earlier, he would not have been involved in this tragedy. But unfortunately, he was visiting the guy that lived in the guest house named William Gerritsen. And he was trying to sell, apparently, his transistor radio to Mr. Gerritsen. And as he left, he was the first person shot and killed. Terrible tragedy. But fast forward, what's this, 69,
Yeah.
like 30 years. I ended up buying this lot with my father. There was a foreclosure. And the lot literally stands 4 lots down from where Sharon Tate's house property stood. Now, she was renting the property, so everybody calls it her property. Well, it's the place that she was killed, but it was owned by Rudy Altobelli. And not to get too thick into the weeds of it all, but he sold the house in 1994, and a new house was built on that property. So 5 years after I bought, that was starting to be demolished, my house was starting to be constructed. and strange things were happening during construction. Let us just say that the laborers that were all between the ages of 16 and 33 or 30, I think it was 32 or 33. These guys were were under our employ during the construction of it. And they were all from San Salvador. And they didn't know anything about the Sharon Tate murders. So during the construction, they would say to me, David, did you move, the air hammer from one? I'd say, why would I move the air hammer? He goes, well, we left it on the third floor. Now we can't find it. And then later on, they'd find it in the second floor in a closet space. And then when I was on the job site, during the construction, I'd be walking around, and I remember having this weird feeling of somebody walking up behind me and was going like, boo. Yeah. And there was nothing there. I turned, and it was just like you could feel that closing space between somebody and you that you could feel. And the last thing that happened that was told to me by them was that during the final stages of construction, when we went from the finished, from doing the rough framing and the rough construction to the final stages of putting in the carpet, putting in the vanities, putting in the granite and the marble, etc., on the counters, they were basically let go. So I said, look, before you guys leave, have any of you guys had any weird experiences during the construction the past 2 years? And one guy looks at me, and I'll never forget this. We're now talking, and we're all like, there's 5 of them lined up, and I'm talking in front of the master. I'm like, before we finish this, and you guys split, he goes, and they said, yeah. And he says to me, this is up in where the dining room is right now. And I said, what? He goes, I'm here 6 months ago. It's the middle of summer. It's about mid-July. It's hot as hell. It's like 90 degrees. And I'm on the third floor working. It's 6 o'clock, and I'm the last one on the site. And I'm finishing up. I said, okay. And he goes, I start hearing voices and footsteps coming from the top of the staircase. I said, at the top floor? He goes, yeah. He goes, no, the setup is this. You have the top floor, which is street level. You have the second floor, which is one floor below that. And then you have the third floor, which is one floor below that. And the house sits on a hillside. So here's your hillside. So here's your top floor at street level, second floor, third floor. And there's a staircase that runs right at the end of the building. That's in an 8-foot by 8-foot by 35-foot tall corridor, the stairwell. And there's a wrought iron spiral staircase. There's the second floor. And then from the second floor, it goes to the third floor. And at the bottom, it's 11 feet tall and 8 feet across is the opening into the room at the bottom. So he says, I hear these voices. So I come going upstairs and saying, Senor David, Senor Paul, ¿dónde está? Which is Mr. David and Mr. Paul. Where are you? Yeah. So he's going through and he says, there's nobody on the top floor. He goes outside onto the street. He looks up and down the driveway. He goes, it's empty. And I said, well, I've been here at 7 o'clock in the summer during construction, and this place is dead empty as well. And I said, it's lit. It's it's still sunlight and it's still open. I mean, it's still very well. It's not nighttime until about 8 o'clock or so. So he goes, that's what I'm saying. I said, there's no one there. He goes, no. Now all the windows are up. So it's not like there's sounds coming from downstairs below that he's hearing upstairs that is being transferred through the windows because all the windows are shut. Yeah. And he says, I don't get it. So I go back downstairs, he says. I start working. 5 minutes later, again, the voices and footsteps from the top floor. So he runs upstairs again with a hammer. He looks over the entire floor, nothing. Goes to the second floor, looks on the entire second floor, nothing. He said, that's it, I've had it. He goes back downstairs and he starts packing his bags. He says, all of a sudden, he hears the sounds of footsteps coming down the spiral staircase. Ooh, wow. Now, at the time, we have only got these 2 by 10 inch long pieces of wood, timbers, that are just in the treads in the thing. So he says, I hear the sound of what sounds like leather sole shoes coming down the staircase, hitting the wooden treads, getting louder and louder till they get to the bottom of the landing. He goes, and I'm in the room, right next to that, to the landing. So I come out and I look, and I can rush to the landing. And I look, there's nothing there. He goes, and then it happens. He describes what is like a piece of ice, 2 inches wide, comes slowly grazing across the back of his neck. He says, my body stood straight up and I screamed, "Ados míos, ya my boy," which translated from Spanish means, oh my God, I'm leaving. And he took off for the next 6 weeks.
Jeez.
And I was like, wait a second. This was the guy that was putting in the tiles throughout the entire house. And he was going to do the master bathroom, but he didn't get a chance to because he disappeared. So I said to the guys, I said, when's he coming back? And he says, we don't know. So 1 week, 2 weeks. By the 3rd week, I said, screw it, I'll put the tiles in myself. To this day, some of the tiles are a little like this, some are a little more space than the others, and some are close. And he said to me, he goes, you do know that the tiles, the natural stone, you have to take them out and make them like a jigsaw puzzle and arrange the veins because each tile is basically cut from another one. So you basically put them in like a puzzle. I said, I didn't know that. He goes, yeah, he goes, they can tell. So that you've got one this way and another one going this way. And it's like, the hell did you do here? You didn't realize it's a puzzle? You have to And I'm like, oh, God. He goes, you've just seen me do regular tiles that are man-made, so the pattern is repeating. It doesn't matter. With natural stone, what your father wanted for the master bathroom, or your mother wanted, you got to have them in a way that's like, and I said, that's what you told the guys you were in San Salvador taking care of your mother. He goes, she was sick. And he said, yeah. He goes, where were you? So I was working other jobs. I said, why did you come back? He said, because I didn't get paid for the prior 3 weeks. And after that, when he came back, he says, I wasn't going to stay there past 5 o'clock. And if anybody else left, I would be right after him. I would just and leave.
Wow. That is just, I couldn't even imagine doing that, right? Where you just feel the dread and everything like that. And one thing I wanted to say too, David is also a producer, creator, and co-writer, and he's also written a book. There we go. Ghost of Cielo Drive, The Afterlife of Sharon Tate, and the Spirits of the Omen House. And he also did, please check out my spooky friends, a movie, House at the End of the Drive, which, there we go. Love it. So it's something you check out again. I'm going to rewatch it tonight, David. I watched it a number of years ago. And I really liked it. It was scary from what I remember.
I think you find this a lot different than the version you saw, because the version you saw is was an older version, I do believe, than this one that we finally finished on and decided upon. Actually,
awesome.
First version was good, but we wanted a little bit more. We got Alan Howarth, John Carpenter's composer, to come in and to redo the screenplay and the score and the movie. So that's
wow. So that's a big win, obviously. John Carpenter, master of horror, Halloween, Escape from New York. It
was Alan Howarth, his composer, that came on. Carpenter's
nice.
So Howarth basically liked the movie. He says, well, I can help you. I said, well, he goes, I'll redo the score. And I said, you'll do this. I go, how much? He goes, I'll do it for free. I just want the rights to the score. I said, what? You can have the rights to the freaking score if you write it. What do I give up? It's fine. So he basically redid the score, reassembled the storyline in the movie, and we set up different scenes, and we edited with the help of my editor, and we constituted the film in a way that was much more thrilling. As Alan said, it needs to build up instead of going like this. He says it should build up sequentially to a pinnacle and then drop right off. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah. Obviously, with horror movies, that's the biggest thing. You want to keep people, on the edge of their seats and everything like that. So let me back up here a little bit. Before you got the Omen House and everything like that, You said you in your early childhood you were always curious about the spirit world. Kind of elaborate on that. Did you have any paranormal experiences, or were you just one of those kids that was just like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. I want to check this out."
No, I think it was when I was 5 years old. I had my first paranormal experience.
Oh, okay.
Saw what I couldn't describe. I could describe it. I could not explain it.
Yeah.
And it was vivid to this day in my brain when I ran into my parents' bedroom from my bedroom because I was always scared of the dark. And for whatever reason, at the age of 5, I ran into their bedroom, and the layout was that on one side of each side of the master bed, in the master bedroom, was a door. So there's a wall, there's a bed in the middle, the California king size bed. There are 2 end tables matching and 2 lamps on top. And on each side of that setup are 2 doors that lead into hers and his side of the bathroom that connected. It was an open big bathroom. But on each side was was the vanity and a vanity like this. And then this was the hearse with the closets, and my dad's closets and the John, and the sunken bathtub was here. So I ran into the bed, got in between the 2 of them. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night and sitting up and seeing from one side of the bed, from the door, this object that was probably about 6 or 8 inches in diameter. And it was, I remember, flashing red, green, and blue, I do recall. And it was floating at about 4 feet, and it went in a circular pattern. This is the bed, and here's the door on one side, here's the door on the other. It went like this. All the way around, not quickly, mind you, but at a decent, just like didn't deviate from the height, and went from one side to the other. And I remember being like this.
Oh my God!
What the hell is that? And my parents are both asleep on each side of the bed, and I'm like, what the hell was that?
Holy shit!
And that was it. That was the very first time I'd actually seen something. And I know I wasn't asleep. You were asleep. It was like, no, I was quite wide awake. I'll never forget that so long as I live. I was And and then after that, I remember doing research. And remember, in those days, God forbid I'm saying this kind of stuff. In those days, you don't know.
Back in the day,
let me tell you. We had encyclopedia. We had the World Book Encyclopedia.
Right?
Not even Britannica, which came out later years.
You had to go to the library, right? You had to go to the library.
You go to the library, but I got news to you. I remember as a kid, the books that they had were, and I remember going to UCLA, University Research Library, when I was about 10 years old, because I went there and had a tutor that was helping me, because they said, he's really smart, but he needs to find some focus. And I said, I was interested in ghosts. So we go into the Universal Research Library, and it's a huge, huge library. And I'm getting books that are probably about 3 inches thick.
Wow.
And are about 10 inches, maybe 8 inches, and they are literally from 1890. And they were originally, with stuff pertaining to stuff that happened in 1850. And it's in the German translated. I'm like, and it's no photographs, kids. It's all dry as you can goddamn get. And it's just, and I'm like reading this crap. I'm like trying to absorb this. And it was like, my tutor was like, what the hell is this? It's like, I said, I'm fascinated by ghosts.
Yeah.
And then there were a few books that were out there by Hans Holzer, and there were photographs. I think there was one famous photograph of Borley Rectory.
Right.
Staircase, the wooden staircase. And in the middle of the staircase is this object. It almost looks like this.
Yeah.
If you can imagine, it's almost like this type of a thing. If you see where my nose is, that's the object is this elongated fog coming down the staircase set in black and white. I think it was from 1936. And there were some other photographs of English castles. By the way, did you just see that black thing just zip by the frame?
Yes, I did.
Thanks, spirits. That didn't go unnoticed.
Wow. Yes, I was going to say, is there something with your camera? Was there? No. Wow.
That's them.
Okay. I love it.
They want to be. Well, I appreciate it. I always appreciate you guys
Yeah.
dropping in on
Yeah.
camp.
Oh,
Slow down next time and manifest over my left shoulder if you like. Oh,
yeah.
by the way,
Please.
the parapsychologist you were referring to is Dr. Barry Taff.
Oh, okay.
Who was here a number of years ago, 20 years ago to be exact, 19 in 2005 and 6. He called the house the Mount Everest of haunted houses
Yeah.
and the Disneyland for the dead.
Dead. Yes.
Due to
I
the
was going to
fact
mention that.
the DC EMF levels in this house are so highly elevated beyond repair that it's inexplicable. Not AC, but the DC.
Wow.
And
could you explain that to my spooky friends out there who may not know even what that is?
AC is abbreviation for alternating current. That's the stuff, the electricity that's running through your house. When you flip a switch, you're getting that power.
Mm-hmm.
DC is called direct current, which is what they call natural electricity, meaning that's, by the way, that's just the cat box going off.
Okay, I was going to say, is that the spirits making themselves again? This is awesome.
That's the automatic litter box. But
okay.
DC
All right.
direct current, such as battery power, lightning, static electricity, those are DC currents.
Yeah. Okay.
And the difference is great because if you get yourself something called a natural tri-field meter, which only measures DC EMF levels, which stands for electromagnetic field levels, you will see that this house has got off the chart elevated levels that are just superseding normal by about 10 to 20 20 times, positive and negative.
Yeah.
What Barry said is that that's what's conducive energy for manifestations of spirits. I said,
yeah.
What? He said, when we were investigating the original Entity case, the movie based on the story, which would start Barbara Hershey of the woman in Culver City being repeatedly raped and physically, sexually assaulted by a manifestation, that in 1972, and they actually did the research on that real story, they were getting these spikes on their meters when the manifestations would occur. So you'd have normal, the manifestation would occur, you'd have a spike, and then it would return to normal. I said, what do you mean? He goes, there's a famous Polaroid of her standing there, and around her is this arc of energy over her, like this. So when we took the picture, our meters spiked to 2,000 milligauss. Positive. I said, what? Because, well, normal's between 300 and 500 milligauss positive. When the spirit manifested, our meters shot up and registered that high and then peaked. And then a few minutes after the manifestation dissipated, it went back to normal.
Yeah.
In your house, he said, after 1 year of investigating and like 25, 30 investigations here and writing down the numbers during the day and night, goes, your house is always hot. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, in some parts of the house, we're getting a measurement of 2,000 milligauss positive. In other parts of the house, he goes, and that's peaking at.
Yeah.
He goes, in other parts of the house, it's peaking at 2,000 milligauss negative. And I'm like, he goes, you have a giant DC bipole.
Wow.
I said, what's that mean? He goes, all I can tell you is that I have a feeling that spirits are manifesting in this house because these levels are so elevated that here's normal, here's your house. It's easier to manifest here in your house than it is to manifest in the natural world. It's much more, not difficult, but problematic for them that they have to focus their energy to make this connection, to make this expansion of energy to manifest. I said, oh, kind of like when you take a reptile out of a cold environment and it's sluggish, and you put it into a warm environment, it becomes active. It's the irradiation of the heat in that environment that it's driving its energy off. Because, the cold blood warms up in the warmer environment. Therefore, it can move and scurry around. Where in a cold environment, it's hibernated and its blood is flowing slowly through its body, so it's not as active. And I'm like, he goes, yeah. He goes, and regardless, I've had to explain this to people.
Yeah.
Because we've been on 8 paranormal U.S. TV shows.
Yeah, I can mention that, yeah.
The fact that the association has always been predominantly about the Sharon Tate murders is a misnomer. As I found out after 22 years of living here, we all thought it was all related to them, to them, to them, to them, to them.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize that we're having stuff that's having absolutely positively no connection to the Tate murder victims. Right. And I've come to the conclusion that why would the Tate victims want to be just popping in to say hello to people they didn't know? If you didn't have a direct connection to them, there's not a great deal of reason for them to be vying for your attention. However, somebody that has passed away that is close to you when they were alive makes much more sense than some disparate spirit coming and say, hi, how are you? Yeah. Ooh, you're my biggest fan. Oh, joy, oh, joy. But your grandmother, your best friend, your sister, your brother, your mom, your dad, that type of thing. There's the connection that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we've had that happen here. So I've had to say to people, it's like, look, even if the Sharon Tate murders hadn't taken place down there and all that didn't happen, this house would still be wildly active.
Yeah, absolutely. And David, too, one thing is I love your motto. And if I misquote you, please tell me. You said you have more to fear from the living than you do the dead.
Yeah.
And then you say your perspective is that ghosts aren't trying to hurt you. If you see one, stop your hyper dramatic response based on what you learned in Sunday school or watched on TV or in the movies. And we know little to nothing about what happens when we die. And you know what? That's okay. I love that. It's great, right? Because let's go back to the first time you see the apparition of Sharon Tate. Okay.
Chase Sebring. The only apparition I've ever seen was Sebring 20 years ago, this past July it would be.
Okay. And kind of explain that when you saw that, with your kind of your motto in mind, of when you were experiencing that at that time.
Sure. Well, the setup is this. My mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, so at the time she was under treatment with chemo, et cetera, and was at her home about 5 miles away from here. And my girlfriend at the time was a flight attendant with American Airlines and was flying through Europe, and I was a little bit concerned, let us say, about her health and well-being. Middle of the night, 1:37 in the morning, I put my head in my pillow and I fell into like a deep, deep sleep, or at least what felt like a deep, deep sleep. My eyes pop open as looked at the clock and says 1:39. So it's 2 minutes later and I'm like God, I feel like I've been sleeping for hours, which was very, very strange, obviously, in itself. And I remember looking, for some reason, my gaze went from the clock to looking down towards the foot of the bed. And there I see this guy, full body, standing at the foot of the bed, probably about, if this is the corner of the bed here, he's probably about 3 feet away. And I'm here looking at this guy looking, what the flying? And he's dressed in a suit. He's got a short lapel, circa the 1960s. It has the 4 buttons going down on each side, double-breasted. His hair, and like mine, well, my hair is now short, but he has long hair, but it's kinked and parted to the side. And he is all, the room is dark, but he is lit up. And it's not like he's glowing, like iridescently glowing, but he is lit up from the inside. There's not like a source of light from above or from this side or from below. He is light. But he's clearly, I can clearly see the features, not fuzzy, clear as a bell. And his skin, as I described it, he was in shades of gray. So that his hair is this charcoal black gray. His skin is this bluish, like a white bluish gray, not white, but bluish gray. And it's like the features his jacket's a darker gray. He's wearing this bluish gray type of a tie. And I'm looking like he's got his left hand extended, the index finger pointed, taking a short turn from the waist up towards the property next door. Pointing towards the driveway. He's doing like this.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't like this pointing. It's like this and then stops pointing towards the, I don't think he's pointing towards the bottom of the driveway. He's pointing, and at the time I keep on hearing this, he's pointing towards the driveway. And I don't know what the hell's going on. I keep on thinking, is my mom dead? And I said, is my mom dead? Is Felicia dead? My girlfriend, what's going on? What's going on? Did this 3 times and it just disappeared. I got up. I went upstairs. I walked around. I got myself a shot of whiskey, and I don't drink. And I shot it, and I spent the next hour walking around the house going, what the was that?
Yeah.
Thinking that first thing in the morning, I'm going to get a call from my dad, and he's going to say your mom passed away in the night. And that was an emissary ghost. Excuse me. And I basically waited. I thought maybe it was my girlfriend who got killed in something that happened to her in American Airlines flight in Europe. And I'm sitting there going like, oh my God, what's happened? Next morning, my dad calls me. I call my dad 8 in. Yeah, your mom's here. What's it? Nothing. Then I thought to my girlfriend. 2 days later, I heard from her, nothing. Everything was fine. And I sat there and I couldn't figure it out. 8 years later, I wake up to the sound of rumbling of the property next door to me that they start taking the hillside that's like this, and they start pulling down all the dirt here to go 60 feet down to then basically build in a house that's going to be where they're going to cut out all of this earth.
Okay.
Put a concrete retaining wall 90 feet down the driveway, and then build a flat concrete pad and build a concrete house. And that's what they started building. And I'm like, oh my God. He wasn't pointing away down the driveway. He was literally pointing towards the property next door to mine, the double lot. That was 48 feet. So it's 96. So the property is 90. The property is 100 feet long, and they built a 70-foot retaining wall, which is all these caissons going down 60 feet, which are 3-foot diameter holes filled with concrete, and then they build the wall behind that and took all the earth away. And that's what there is right now there. And that's what he's pointing to 8 years before the property was sold and that was built.
Wow. I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean, David, how do you like, I don't know, just comprehend it?
Think about it. He was forewarning me about the construction of that property next door to mine.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, and it wasn't, was he threatening? No, but he was forewarning me if something was about to happen in the future, meaning, and people don't like me saying this, if he in fact was forewarning me about that property being built 8 years before construction began, and it took him 4 years to build it. 8 years before it began means that we are but players upon a stage with our entrances and our exits. Quote unquote, William Shakespeare, meaning this whole existence has all been done before, and we are just acting out our part, unbeknownst to us. And that everything that's happening has happened before, and the idea of free will is pretty much non-existent.
That's something I actually was talking to one of my guests about. We were talking about free will and does it exist or not, especially in the paranormal world. And I'm on the fence because I think here's my only thing, just going on a little sidetrack here, but my only thing is, in my opinion, life is so random. Like, it was random that your friend called you and said there's a lot open next to the Sharon Tate house. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that was just random. That you could have been.
Again, free will is only in the mind. That's where it exists, because you say it's random, right?
Yes.
Okay, here's an example of how random it's not. Remember in the 1890s, there was a book written by an English author about the Titan, the unsinkable luxury liner.
Oh, right.
The story parallels the Titanic story.
Titanic. Yep.
I myself have had a dream. God, how many years ago was that? 30 years ago, maybe or so. I had a dream of something that happened. I told a friend of mine who's a therapist, I said, I want you to do me a favor. So I trust you more than anybody else. I said, you have implicit ethical responsibility where if I tell you something and ask you to do me a favor, because as a friend, I said, well, as a professional, I said, I want you to go write. She goes, okay. I said, I want you to write this down. And so I told her the story that I had in this dream. And it was a dream where I was floating above my apartment in the looking down the alley, watching this scene play out with somebody who I was friends with for a number of years. And it started out very nice. And then all of a sudden it blew up and she started getting volatile and started getting violent and started hitting me and getting upset, and she was going through divorce at the time. So she was very, 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 very upset and stressed out to the max by this whole situation. And it was getting to be an ugly divorce. And I said something that basically triggered her to respond in a way that basically, as she says, it reminded me of what my husband used to say. It's like, I wasn't saying that. She goes, I know that. But because I reacted in a way that was as such, it sounded like your husband was my ex. And I basically got upset and lashed out at you because of such. And it's like, okay, this is what she said. This is all right. So I told my friend the dream. I said, please put this in your safety deposit box. I said, keep it there just in the future in case.
Yeah.
6 months in the future, it all happened. So I called my friend and said, you got your lockbox? And she goes, what's the matter? I says, remember I told you that? She goes, yeah, I wrote that page. I said, yeah. I said, get it out. And I said, I'm going to tell you what just happened right now. So she goes, okay. I said, get the page. She goes, I got it. And I said, okay. I said, da-da-da-da. She goes, everything you just told me that just happened 10 minutes ago is exactly as you said it was going to be in the note. To the T, to what I was wearing even.
Yeah.
She goes, it sounds like you went like this into the future, dropped down, saw it, came back to the present. I said, it was a lucid dream. And she goes, it was in color? I said, yeah, it was very much in color. And that's the second time I've had corroboration of Shakespeare's statement.
Wow. I think this is such a topic. My friend did his dissertation on free will for his PhD. And he has to agree with you. There's no such thing as free will. So, but then here's the scary.
Wait, back up. Here's the other thing. If psychic ability is real, that's the only way it can be. It's the only way it can work.
Exactly.
It's because if you have that ability to see in the future, and obviously deja vu.
Yeah. Right.
I think I could see myself. I've done this before. Hello. See, in that way, and here's another thing. If you believe in psychic ability, then you can't have free will. Because what I just said people have a problem when you say certain things. They say, well, it's like, well, you don't play the cards all the way out to the end of the line, do you? Nobody ever does. But if you do, and you say, this is this, then this must be true as well. Because you can't have, here's the thing about mathematics. It doesn't lie. It's simply, this is the equation. This is the solution. You can't have one without the other. You can't, and people don't like that because it's very straightforward. It's very dry. But however dry it is, it works.
Right.
The explanation and answer match the question. Everything lines up. It has to. And that's why people don't do that. It's like, well, ghost is, and I say, well, you're going to keep a ghost in a gosh darn case, huh?
Yeah.
But a ghost is energy and can travel through anything. So if you set up certain parameters, you destroy a lot of the myths. And if you look at it closely, because the myth that you can put down a salt barrier to keep a ghost inside. What is it? Ghost like Superman, and he suffers from kryptonite poisoning. I mean, see, the people don't want it. The people want to have it, and they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I can't get it.
And you can't.
Exactly. Right.
And that's the whole thing, you know. I don't play that stuff. I don't.
You can swear. By the way, I forgot to tell you that you can swear all you want.
No, say anything. It's good practice.
So let's stay on this before I get to something else. Let's stay on this. Let's say I'm a skeptic, a hard edge skeptic. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in afterlife. I don't.
Okay.
I'm sure, David, people have come to you and have said, you're putting on a light show. You're doing something that is fooling people. You know, how do you answer those people? How do you react to those people, even though you have a mountain of evidence to say otherwise? How do you say to those people who say, like, come on, man, you're joking with everybody. Stop it.
Look at the videos. You can't convince anybody of anything they don't want to believe. People are
that's true.
Rooted in their, for lack of, not a way of being insulting, but in their childhood memories of what they're taught in their religious schools. And some people haven't actually broken free from those bonds and those restraints of those shackles. I just was going to say those shackles of constraint, of listening to that which they were taught and being able to freely think about things in a little bit clearer, basic, how should I say, understanding of things. You can't assault somebody's integrity and belief system. It's their belief system. That's why I said it's like, I convince them. It's like, convince them of what? They believe what they believe. I can't try to. I try to say, look, if I try to use logic and say, if X is X, and Y is Y, how do these two things go like this every time you try to put them together? They don't match.
Right.
All I can say is I can only show what I can show and tell what I can tell, and share the videos and the stories that I've experienced here and the stories of others that have had their experiences here. And there's nothing you can do. I try to show people, and it's all this. It's like, but they come up with the fish in the fish tank is what's causing the aquarium to shudder, and the figurines are getting knocked over. I said, yeah, but there's only one at a time. It's not like they're all getting knocked. Oh, it's an earthquake. So an earthquake is selectively choosing one of those figurines to knock over, but the rest are standing upright. What am I supposed to say? I hear it all the time, and I go, and no matter how much I say, look at the videos, I don't put up videos that I can explain, because why put up videos I can explain away so somebody else can explain it away? The reason why they're there is because we can't explain them away.
Yeah. And
I don't fake stuff. I don't sit there and say, look, did you see I don't do this. I'm ghost hunting. Oh, look, let's keep it on me. It's like, oh my God, did you see that? It's like, what? It's already gone now, but you can see it now.
Right.
I don't do that. And furthermore, I've got 30 cameras inside and outside my house recording 24/7. So when something happens, it's usually not when I'm ghost hunting.
Right.
So when people get that, it's like, wait a second. It's like, yeah, I'm just doing my daily stuff and somebody's voice is captured talking by me and going, the hell was that? Rewind the video, watching, going, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, we're going ghost hunting. Ooh, that's scary. Ooh,
Right.
ooh,
Yeah.
ooh. God. Not that I'm making fun of it. And believe
Yeah.
me, I've had
Yeah.
those types of people here that go, and I
Yeah.
mean 10 times louder than that. And I
Yeah.
go, how many times have you been doing this?
Yeah. Right.
Don't you think it's time to tamper down the hysterics? Because it
Right.
ain't
Exactly.
fun on my end, and people are looking at me and saying, "What's with the chick? What's with the guy?" And saying,
So,
"I just live
so
here. I just deal with it 24/7, and seldom will you hear me go."
yeah.
You know, it's
brother.
and I
Yeah.
haven't happened when and again, I haven't happened when I'm not expecting it. So that's when it's really like, and I'm not actively pursuing like one ghost hunting. I mean, I'm just doing my daily stuff and stuff happens and I go,
Yeah.
what the?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to sit there and caterwaul and scare? Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
it's home. The spirits are, they're doing it. It's David, the Headless Horseman.
Right.
It's just one of those things I go, and again, it's never been threatening. It's like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they're going to stab me. I'm going,
So,
no, I mean,
that's what I was gonna say. Speaking of that,
that
have
they
you
just
ever had yeah. Yeah, boy, I see what you get at. Have you ever had that's what I was gonna say. Have you ever had an experience where you just wanted to get the hell out of the house? Where you're like, I'm done,
Amityville
I'm
horror
out.
scare, huh? No.
Yeah, in Amityville, you're running out the door in the middle of the rain, it's thunder and lightning on you. You know, your car won't start.
Well, all right, funny you should say that when
Oh,
the car
all
bumps.
right.
I had a friend of mine, two stories. I had a friend of mine that was here a number of years ago with her mom that just came up out of the blue, stopped by to show her mom the place, didn't even cause it. Because I came home, I looked at the end of the street and I saw this woman in a car. And I walked down there. I think the hood was up. I said, what's wrong? She goes, we can't get. I said, oh, what are you doing? He goes, well, I stopped by. I said, why didn't you call? She goes, I didn't figure to call. I just was driving my mom around. We drove through Beverly Hills and I came up here to show the shit. And your house, I said, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. She goes, what's the matter? Because the car won't start. I said, what? She goes, I just got the car brand new 2 weeks ago. It's an Audi. And I'm like, nice car, blah, blah, you know.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I've got some jumper cables. Let me bring my car and try to jump it. She goes, well, I've already called AAA. So AAA comes and like, I show him the cables. He goes, oh, those cables won't work on this battery. I said, what do you mean? He goes, the battery's completely drained. And it was literally right down the street in front of next to the gate at the end of the drive. I said, he goes, what? He goes, you couldn't jump that car from your car because those cables are only about, I said, 3/4 of an inch thick. I said, what do you need? He goes, you need a larger gauge cable to be able to get enough power to start this battery up because it's completely drained.
Hmm.
She goes, the tech guy said, he goes, look, you should take the car back to Audi and have them take a look at it. That's not right. The car's 2 weeks old. Battery's brand new, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Calls me back the next day. She goes, I just got the word from Audi because the alternator and the generator are all fine. The battery is perfectly good. Nothing wrong with it. Now, to answer your question, no, I've never had any issues like, I want to leave the house. I spent 4 years of my life building the house with my mom and my dad, both of whom have passed away. It was always my lifelong dream to build a house with my father since I was a kid, because he was building houses since I was a child and, apartment buildings, whatever, and built my sister's house some 20 some odd years earlier. And I said, I'm not about to let this opportunity go to the wayside. So the idea that I am going to run from this home that I've got my blood, sweat, and tears and family lineage tied into, hell to the no.
Yeah.
I'll die before I leave this property. But to answer your question, I have had experiences where people have left the house feeling uncomfortable. One of whom was a producer who was here a number of years ago, saw my movie in the third level, the theater room, watching this movie. I come upstairs to get some drinks for him. About 5 minutes later, after I left him, I hear footsteps coming up the staircase, and he walks right past the kitchen and right out the door. And I ran outside to get to him. He was in his car, staying his car up. I said, "What's the matter?" He goes, I said, "What's the matter?" He goes, "I had some very unsettling feelings going on." I said, "What's?" He goes, "Somebody was putting their fingers through my hair, like fingers."
Oh,
And I said, He goes, "On my head." I said, and then I felt somebody running their finger up and down the back of my spine, through my leather jacket. I'm like,
oh,
and as it turned out, basically, I said to him, "You had 2 friends that have died in the past couple of years, haven't you?" And he was like, and I had never met the guy before.
mm,
He was a friend's referral to see the movie. And he goes, "How did you know?" I said, "One of your friends died in a car accident, and one of your friends died in a rock climbing accident." He was like, I said, "A couple of years apart, like a year or so apart from me." He goes, "How did you know?" I said, "That's who it was that was messing with you." It's like, oh my God,
wow.
he still took off. Second and most incredible story was, of course, with Zach Baggins and Ghost Adventures here
Yeah.
11 years ago, comes next month when they shot here. And they lasted 3 hours of their 6-hour lockdown and ran out of here, scared to death. And the following 3 days, they were bedridden at their hotel room, all 3 of them. Oh, and what's his face? Jay Wilder was also sick as well, bedridden for the next 3 days.
And being sick, meaning
Stomach ache.
trained?
No, stomach aches and like that type of thing. But you got to remember what they did in that show when I told them, we're going to redo this reenactment of this girl, pregnant Sharon Tate walking, clutching her pregnancy covered in blood. I said, "Don't do it." I said, "It's a fraud. It's not a real story. It's figment of
Yeah.
somebody's visual imagination." And they did it. That's why I said that was going to, I said, "You've pissed off a grand amount of spirits here.
Yeah.
And by doing so, you've done yourself no good service." And when they finished the show, literally 1:00, they started at 9:00. All the power is shut down on all of their equipment, all the batteries, including the backup batteries, were all dead. They had spent another hour, recharged them. They then went in, and I said, "You guys are in for the time of your life." And they lasted 3 hours and ran out. And there was stuff, like I said, I was outside watching going,
Yeah. Yeah.
so.
Speaking of that, you've been on numerous shows, speaking Ghost Adventures, Haunted History, Paranormal Witness, My Ghost Story, you Larry King Live, Fincher Larry King Live, TMZ, Extra, I mean, a lot. CBS News.
Yeah.
So have you ever had a time, David, where a paranormal group came on, whether they're famous or not famous, it doesn't really matter, where you were like, enough, shut it down, you're pissing me off, you're making the spirits pissed off, you gotta leave? Have you ever done that?
Not exactly. I've had people here that have tried to pull the wool over the sheep's eyes, so to speak.
Okay, what happened?
Had these 3 investigators, this crew of guys, and they 2 of the guys said to me, "Oh, such and such had an experience. There's experience. The door shut on its own." And I said, "Let's watch." I said, "I got cameras. Let's watch." So the setup is it's in the theater room. This is the camera on the floor shooting towards the entrance. And the door going to the guest bedroom is right next to 2 sofa chairs, two couches. Their friend, their associate, is sitting on the couch. So from the one camera, you can see from the wall camera, you can just see the associate sitting, then you see the door shut. I said, "Let's see the other camera." The floor camera shows the associate kicking would be his left foot and kicking the door shut and claiming it's paranormal. And I showed the other 2 associates.
Oh no.
And I said, "Your guy is full of shit."
Yeah, right.
And called him out. And I said, I don't know if you guys are in on it, but that's not going to float bones here at my house. I will not share that with anybody in any community because that's as fake as a goddamn $3 bill.
Yeah.
And the two of them weren't upset at him, but were upset at me for proving. I said, so I guess I'm not interested.
Right.
I said, if you guys are going to pull that kind of crap, then you're in on it, and I'm not interested in it.
Yeah. So, I just can't believe. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've had people, people want to think that they're smarter than anybody else. I used to have a friend of mine that used to throw a penny behind his back, like going, whoa. He goes, did you hear that? And I'd say, they're not going to do that shit here. You have only one bit of integrity. Once you lose it, you can never regain it. So once you lie, you're a liar. That's it. Everything out of your mouth comes with the question mark up. Real or fake? Real or fake? So to me, I don't, if I can verify and validate something as an explainable incident, why would I share it otherwise?
Exactly. Now, speaking of, paranormal shows and everything like that, one of the things David and I were talking offline, and I've told just my spooky friends 1,000 times throughout the city. I almost bought the Amityville horror house, but it turns out it's not haunted, people. I'm sorry, it's all bullshit. But one of the things I didn't buy it was because the real estate agent told me, hey, John, do you really want people coming on your lawn at 3:00 in the morning, 2:00 in the morning, taking pictures, knocking on your door, trying to get in? Has that ever happened to you where people just show up and just be like, hey, David, I want to take a look around? Anything like that ever happen?
Yeah, a number of years ago after Ghost Adventures aired, that night, I went outside. It was about 2 a.m. with my dogs. And the house next door was under construction, and I heard this voice out from inside from the darkness next door. I said, hi. And I was like, this guy came in because I saw you in Ghost Adventures. I'm like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, so? Yeah, well, I walked all the way from La Brea and Sunset. I'm like, La Brea and Sunset? I'm thinking 5 miles away plus.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was 6 miles when I'm going, wow. That's
right.
Walk. I said, well, have a nice night. That was it.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, because I would go ahead. Yeah.
But there's tons of people that are driving down the street from all hours of the night to go to see where the Tate property is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they drive up, and I've seen all the 50 states license plates drive up here to see, go to the end of the drive and look around and stuff. So,
yeah,
that's what I can say.
I was going to ask you too. Maybe I missed this, but you're familiar with Ed and Lorraine Warren, correct? Ed and Lorraine Warren from The Conjuring and all that stuff. Did they ever reach out to you? Because you figure they would even though I think they're con people. That's my opinion. Did they ever reach out to you?
No, and no. Oh. I wouldn't. I wouldn't talk to them if they were. B, I don't think they were around when I was here. Let's see. I've been here since 2002, so.
Yeah.
And no, I have no interest or respect in them because I believe, as was proven in the late 70s, early 80s, they're total, scammers, and I have no interest in their anything. As I said, once you bust your bubble of integrity, forget it. You're gone. Everything's questioned before, during, and after. So it's like, come on, everything comes into question. And I personally don't believe in any of their stories. I think they're just shysters, fraudsters.
Right. Yeah. Same with me. I don't know why, and not to get off on a sidetrack here, but I don't know what, you seem like a man of integrity to me. I don't know you very well, but I like you, and I tend to know people. I got this gift from my mom. My mom could meet a person, and she could immediately be like, good, bad. And she wasn't being judgmental. She just had a great feeling. She passed it to me. So, you sound like a man of integrity, which I truly appreciate. But I can't believe they went, they're counting their money at the bank, right? And their son or whoever's getting the money now, that they were so believable. And just didn't anybody just step in just once and go, hey man, I don't think that's right. I don't think there's a demon, hanging out in your house. And if I don't know, do you have any feelings about that? Not to get off the subject, but I'm just curious.
The reason why you know about them is because in the year 2000, somebody decided to find and literally blow the dust piles off of their books and use that as content to inspire a franchise that's taken off well beyond repair. And you got to remember, that's all it was, that they were mentioned in the Amityville Horror Story. And then they were debunked. And then somebody about 25 years ago decided to look up some of these people, look for content to base a story on, and said, look, here you go, kids. You got something to base a story on. I forgot which one it was, The Conjuring or Annabelle or the Nun, whatever it was, the first one was. And then it's just like Hollywood's lazy and originality goes out the window. So once something is page-earned gold, they'll milk that franchise till it's dead. And then they'll look for the next spin-off of another one of the stories that were created. And, cookie cutters, assembly line, the same thing happens with The Conjuring House, with Annabelle, with all of the different gosh darn stories created out of their things. So it became a franchise cottage industry that turned into a gosh darn enormous, valuable commodity.
Yeah.
But
and it's a shame.
The studios don't give a rat's ass about integrity. They're there to create entertainment.
Correct.
And if they can associate and tie something into something that had happened or a story, well, what are they going to do? Not go for it? Of course they go for it. And they did. And wholeheartedly went and bought a hook, line, and sinker and brought it about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because we pay for it as the consumer, that we go and spend our hard-earned money and then walk out and go, okay.
Well, it's entertainment. Remember, serves the purpose of being entertaining.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some people go out and make a franchise cottage industry of the fact that they're going to market and make hay out of the fake story.
Yeah.
And call it real. This really happened. The Conjuring House.
Yeah.
The Conjuring House. The Conjuring House Live people came a number of years ago, and they said, look, we're going to have you leave the house for 4 days while we shoot the show. It's like, no, you're not going to spend 4 days inside my home. I said, no way. I said, that's not happening. Yeah. I said, do you want me here? I said, I built the house. I said, unlike the people that you did the show with, who just bought the house, who were in the house the whole time you shot that show, they have no connection to the house in any way, shape, or form, yet you're going to kick me out of the house, the only owner and builder of this house? It said, that makes no sense whatsoever. Right. I basically went to blows with them and got very irritated at her attitude, because this producer's like, oh, it's like, no, we're not. Yeah. No, we're not. I'm not letting you take this house and do what you will because I don't trust you. I don't think as anybody in the world that I trust less than having you come to this house and pull that stunt here and then say, well, you signed this and you said, and I have no oversight on what you're producing about my house.
Yeah. Forget it.
Not happening.
Forget it. Now, a couple more questions here for you, David. One of the things I want to ask you is, I talked to some paranormal investigators who have gone to some, sort of famous, I would say it's famous, at least here in the Midwest, the Villisca Axe Murder House in Iowa that I visited. Myself haven't done an investigation, but they did an investigation recently, and they said something extremely interesting to me. They said the house felt dead, not as in dead, dead. Like the spirits had moved on. Like their energy was gone. They just didn't feel like they were getting anything out of it. Now, again, as a paranormal investigator, there's some you go into places and it's just constant, similar to your house. And there's some places you go into and you're there for 3 days and nothing happens. What do you think about that? Do you think there's a possibility that certain homes, maybe like yourselves, where the spirits will eventually just say, I'm done. Like a drained battery. Like I'm done. I'm finished.
Well, to be honest with you, I think the thought is this. Everybody's different.
Sure.
Everybody is wired differently. I'm thinking that it's a couple. Look, this is all theoretical mumbo jumbo. Let's just be clear.
Sure.
Could be that those people that went there weren't connecting to the energies.
Right.
You send somebody else in there, the whole place turns into a guy's farm party house with spirit activity.
Sure.
So, spirits could be on vacation. I know that people find that hard to believe, but I mean, look, I've lived here for 22 years.
Yeah.
I've seen periods of time where the figurines do not get knocked over. And I have said, God, is anybody on vacation with those going on? This place is like, it is a doorknob. It feels empty. And that happens. You got to remember, it's cyclical. Spirits can come and go and do what they want. So if they're not like here, it's not the Sharon Tate murder victims. We'd call this place a giant ghost flop house. Meaning spirits come and go, and they come in, they come out. It's like, as Marianne Winkowski, the real life ghost whisperer, said, that your house is like a giant ghost hotel. There's a revolving door at the front, and spirits come in and spirits go out. Spirits come in and go. And she goes, I can clear your house, and 5 minutes later, the spirits that are gone will be replaced by other spirits. So what's the point? The last thought is that the place is basically, the spirits just, have decided to move on. That's also a possibility. I mean, those are my 3 different conclusions of potentially what could be going on. Not that any of those are accurate or true, but their potential is what could be going on.
Right.
Again, I don't know, because there are no experts in the field, regardless of what some claim to be. There's just really no experts in a field that is too questionable and unknown.
Yeah.
Unresearchable, undefinable.
Absolutely. And, in that case where, little children were killed, the entire family was killed in such a brutal way by an axe, and it's still never been solved to this day. No one's come forward. There's been people who've said, well, I think it was my cousin Joe, but come on. I mean, like, what are we doing here? But let me ask you too, with your house too, you have many spirits. Has there ever been a spirit where you're like, wow, this is a nasty one. Like, this is a bad one.
People have said that they felt this and that. Myself, no. I've never felt anybody that was that affronting. And I mean affronting, so appalling, so like, oh my God, that's just, like a Hitler or a Idi Amin, something like that, or Charles Manson.
Yeah.
No, nothing ever like that. I've had people that have complained of such things, mind you. So there's nothing that heinous, but I say, really? It's like, well, I've lived here saying, you're coming in and you're picking this energy up. It's funny, I've been here all this time, and I'm not a devil worshiper, and I'm not a fan of that stuff. So I'm pretty gosh darn in the white light. I mean, light, so to speak. And I don't mean anything in the dark light, but I don't dabble in the darkness, and I'm not a provocateur of what's his face, of Anton LaVey and stuff like that. So,
or Aleister Crowley,
or exactly. But and even if you were, that's terrific. It ain't gonna get you eternal life. It ain't gonna get you eternal power. I'm sorry to break it to you. That's just not how it works. You could try to sell your soul to the devil. You might find somebody in flesh incarnate that claims to be the devil, and they're going to take from you as much as you can. But that's more in the lines of a parasitic relationship that you've engaged yourself in or involved yourself in. But no, I don't really have never experienced anything that I personally felt like was like. And I've been to places that felt that dark energy where it was like, ooh, ow.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
right.
You really are a messed up son of a bitch, aren't you? Ooh, you really are.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I can feel it. that isn't to say that we haven't had people that have come in the house that haven't brought some energy and that felt really intense and foreboding. But let's be honest, how long did they stay here? Not long, very long at all.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
Have you ever had someone be physically harmed, scratched, bruised, punched, anything that severe
by a ghost?
by a ghost? Well, well, let's say by a ghost.
A person. Yes, there have been blows that have been suffered here, but
let's by a spirit. Let's stick with the spirit.
See, the spirits. No, but they have gotten but there have been people who have been here who have asked subconsciously or consciously under their breath for physical proof, and have been and they've been provided with physical proof by the spirits. Yes. A friend of mine was in the third level in the OTR room, and he walked in and he came running out and says, "Oh my God, something happened." I said, "I got a scratch to my back." And it's like, "What?" So we watched the video, and you watch the video and you can see the back of his collar and his shirt go like this.
Yeah.
And then like this, and he's like this. And then it's like this. And in the spot in between, in the middle of his back where you couldn't reach, we found a little like bud mark. I said, and then they said, he goes, "Well, he got what he asked for." I said, "What?" "Well, he asked for physical proof." And I said to him, "Did you ask?" I said, in a snide kind of way, when you went into the room right before you went in, he goes, "Oh yeah, well, I want physical proof." And he goes, I didn't say anything. How did you know? I said, "But did you?" He goes, "Yeah, I did." And it's like, well, there you go. You're physical, and there's the proof.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, it's like you asked for it. You got what you asked for. Be careful next. Don't be in the spirits. And I was like, well, there you go. And of course, with the Ghost Adventures show, when Zach and Nick had their, Nick saw stuff, and then Nick had the mark on his stomach, that stuff, the same thing. It wasn't a burn. It was just like a rub. Like saying, here, you want something, that now we're here. We're not bullshit.
Yeah. And
there's not like a space. Look at that, he's bleeding out of his chest. Oh God.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. That's just hyperbolic dog storytelling.
Right. Not like a brand iron where someone puts like a symbol of the devil.
It's just ST.
Right.
STP. Sharon Tate Plansky. But that's the motor company. That's the motor oil company. STP. I use that. That logo. S.
Yeah.
That's the logo, you dumbass.
I love it. So you've been more than generous with your time, David. I could talk to you for hours. I have a couple things before we wrap up. One, when you pass away, long time down the road, will you haunt the Omen House?
When you go so, unless it's something better. Outside the fact that yes and no, I don't want to go through Beetlejuice 1 all over again, like the Maitlands.
Yeah.
No, they do it to the freaking house. The son of bitches, what the fuck? I had to die to live to see this shit. Goddamn son of a bitch. What are you? No, I mean, then it would be hell. It's like, well, I could get along with them if the house intact. Idiots.
Yeah, you don't want to be like you walk into a room and it's purple with yellow curtains. I don't know.
Who the hell walked in here? Andy Warhol? Ted Descendants. Yeah. Oh, Prince moved in. Oh, great. He turned it all purple. Wait, just the shade of.
You got a rock star that comes into your house and is playing his music. You're like, oh, what the hell?
Purple. I just can't see the house in purple.
Well,
I'm going to paint the stairwell in primary colors. Each wall, each floor is going to be a different primary color. I'm like, what the fuck am I living in? Goddamn, what is Captain Kangaroo's land of stupidity? Each part of the wall. This is going to be blue. This is going to be red. I said yellow. What the fuck am I living in? An art form? Oh my God.
Or they put shag carpet on your walls,
Ceiling, at the wall, on the ceiling, shag carpets. Who would have thought of it? And grass balls, grass growing on the wall. Are you serious, man? Who knows this shit? Yeah, that would be eternal life.
Yeah.
My own
Yeah.
a messed up moxie head.
I could see you and the whole spirits together at a meeting. All right, guys, we gotta figure this out.
This shit's gotta get fixed. Out. Not even to the afterlife, just some other house. I don't want to live here forever with us. Can you imagine?
Let's get this together. You'd be like the Beetlejuice of the.
Oh yeah. I'd be like, get this shit straightened out. This guy sucks. With this idiot is a moron. Son of a bitch. God,
oh man, I love
this
it.
house down. Don't fuck it up. Not on my death watch.
I love it. So tell my spooky friends what you got coming up here. What events, anything they can look forward to checking you out?
Here, you want something to check out? Tell your audience to go check out House at the End of the Drive. That's right, kids. You can see this movie at houseattheendofthedrive.com. It's a rental right now. You want to see videos of the house, you can go to these links here. If you can see it, youtube.com/David Omen. God, that thing is just so blurry. Spirits, get the auto.
Don't worry, I'll put the links and everything in the episode.
Right. And get a copy of the book. Goes to Cielo Drive at goes-to-cielodrive.com. And no, in no way, shape, or form am I pushing my movie and publicizing the hauntings that are going on here. That's separate. The movie is a separate thing. I don't sit there and commingle. The movie's the movie. The book is the book. The the hauntings here are the hauntings here. You take it or leave it. I'm not, pushing like a lot of people like this house is haunted. It is haunted. The movie stands on it.
We've already seen it.
It's a fun story. It's half fact, half fantasy. It's interesting. It's original, kids. And the spirits just flashed right by. Can I talk without being interrupted, please? Please.
Yes, if you don't believe it, this video is going to be available, and you can see 3 different times like a spirit went by. Yeah, that we saw. At least,
and I'm not doing anything. I don't spend money on trying to make fake ghosts appear.
Yeah. Yes. And the other thing too, I was going to say, if you buy, when David does pass, long time, and you buy his house, do not put grass on his ceilings, do not put shag carpet in it, do not paint it purple. Just leave it. Just leave it.
Just leave it the hell alone and enjoy it.
Leave it the hell alone.
Appreciate you more if you don't mess it the hell up.
Well, thank you so much, David. Again, you're the greatest. I love you because you're, like I said, you're a man of integrity. Loved having you on the episode. And, we always tell the audience 2 things before we always wrap up here. And 1, say hi to your ghost. Well, that's obvious for you. So, hello.
You heard that, didn't you? I don't have to repeat it, do I?
And stay... and stay spooky. Thanks, David.
Omen House, kids.
Yes, please do. Go check it out. Go check out the book. Check out the movie. Go out there. Check out the videos. Yes.
Subscribe.
Absolutely.
It helps.
Oh, yes. And subscribe and like, comment, do all that stuff. David is appreciated. I appreciate you doing that. All the links, everything, once this episode comes out in a couple weeks, you guys can check out. And hey, it's awesome. I can't say enough. This has been a great episode. So, bye, David. I will catch you later.
Take care.